The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
The New York Knicks try to lose in Dallas, but the Mavericks just wouldn't let them.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
One of those games you win and you walk away a little disgusted with yourself for being up at nearly 1 a.m. on the East Coast. Happy with the win, gross with how the Knicks played. A little gross that you stayed up that late to watch it if you weren't paid to do so. But we're going to talk about Landry Shamet's late shot making, Jalen Brunson's return, and whether the Knicks were just better to be lucky than good. They become the first team in NBA history in this game to win a game where they missed 33s and 15 free throws in regulation. Incredible. Is that your main takeaway from this one?
Incredible. I don't think is the right word, and I'll be a stickler on it.
Okay, to be fair, it was a sarcastic.
No, I know. What I'm saying is, it was better than I think you even maybe think. It was incredible, unbelievable. Like, to the literal letter of the law, it has to be unbelievable to be incredible. It's incredible. I kind of did believe it. I was like, you know what? The Mavericks are missing everyone. And the Knicks are missing not everyone, but they are a little scattered right now. They're a little scrambled. This game is probably going to be one of those. And, they referenced it on the broadcast. That game with Luka and the last second shenanigans.
That was 1 in 14,000. This is also first time ever. I would imagine the number's not that high, but just crazy things happen when the Knicks are in Dallas.
This is the trend at this point. This is a trend at this point, and my dog just caused an earthquake. But basically, the Knicks are gonna have a weird game when they go to Dallas. It's part of the course at this point. Also, even if it's at the Garden, Dallas is involved sometimes in their weirdest. Do you remember the game where Cam Reddish crossed himself up and hit the deck? And then I
blocked out the whole Cam Reddish era.
The rotation changed forever after the Knicks lost the third quarter that day, 41-16. So it's always weird with the Mavericks. Last night's game, what did I think about it? There were parts of me that were watching the game and thinking, this is a bad early data point. This is a team, every game, a team shows you who they are. And right now, the Knicks are showing you that in Dallas, post Nico firing in a super transitory time for a team that is missing its 2 best players, the number 1 overall pick. You took their 2 best doctors last year. Everything's a mess. And and they traded Luka, and then you still can barely beat. It's guys, come on. Also, it's tough to look at it that in a vacuum. Jalen Brunson first game back. We'll get into what he looked like, which was an alien for various reasons. But I think for me personally, and I'm kind of curious, what you were thinking as you were watching the first half unfold was just and again, this is not from a position of I despise watching. I watch so many basketball games that people would consider awful, and I have a great time. But I'm watching the start of this game, and I was like, this is different. But that's the point here. The Knicks are going to lose games that maybe they shouldn't by a couple of points or by 30 but they're also going to, when they win by 3 times as many points. Like, that might not seem like a worthwhile trade-off to you, the listener, individually, but it's what teams across the league are doing right now. And I guess I don't know why specifically, other than data is clearly indicating that they should, but I also hate referring to analytics as like this like god that doesn't have a anyway. What do you think? Do you think that this is just where we're at, that trash nights in the NBA are going to, not turn out like the NFL, because there's so much more variance. It's not like everyone's going to be close. But do you think that as teams, here's my actual question.
Sure, yeah.
Do you think that as teams continue to adopt slightly more similar shot profiles and also just similar ideologies regarding 3-point volume, and particularly like dealing with the talent disparity, getting up a lot of threes, high difficulty shots, and just hoping they go in, do you think that that's almost like leveling the playing field around the league in a sense? Like, styles make fights, and now everyone's style is a little slightly more similar, to the extent where we're going to see more and more games like this where teams just like that very opposite of have a barn burner, but it's still like down to the, I don't know. What do you make?
Yeah,
Of it? Is this like a trend?
I think the like counter to, like, I guess, I mean, maybe you're not asking that question with an implicit answer, but the counter I would say is like defense is the control variable. And it's why you see Oklahoma City still have like a plus 15 net rating, and the Knicks don't have that. They are, I think, 16th defensive rating. As of this morning, I believe I saw a stat the other day that the Knicks have gotten the best shot quality in the NBA while allowing the worst shot quality in the NBA. So if anything, their offense is still underperforming a little bit, as you see tonight, and their defense is maybe overperforming, though there's something to, like, certainly the defensive playmaking you're seeing from Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and like the Knicks being a little bit more like risk-taking defensively when they were very risk-averse under Tom Thibodeau, is maybe like that's a trade-off for them defensively now, where like higher shot quality for the opponents, nights where like you don't get those steals and they get hot and they pour 130 on you, but you create a little bit more variance, you help your offense, you create easy shots, you shut down possessions because you're getting steals where an opponent doesn't even get off a shot. So it's interesting. I don't want to overlook into that stat. I think the Knicks defensive rating being pretty much dead average is probably mostly indicative of where they are. I don't, despite
do you think they've been an average defense, or do you think they've sometimes been good and sometimes been so bad and it's averaged out to average? Because I think both are feasible.
I think the latter, but I do think that's pretty typical for an average defense. I may be wrong. Maybe some teams just kind of play mediocre all the time. But
I was going to say, I think it's fair to say they have an average defense, but it's a volatile.
For sure. I definitely hear it. And obviously, it's far more volatile when OG Anunoby's completely off the floor for like when he's injured, I should say. He's that's the way to say that.
What's the weirdest way I could say this?
Yeah. I mean, he, as of 2 weeks ago, I didn't check when he got hurt, but as of 2 weeks ago, I think he had the single best defensive plus minus in the NBA. So like the Knicks, in some sense of the term, are losing the league's single most impactful defender. You lose that, and you have a night where we said like this was an unprecedented way in NBA history. And to be fair, like teams have only been shooting enough threes to miss 30 of them, maybe the last 10 to 15 years. So that limits your scope. But this was an unprecedented way to win a basketball game. 12 for 42, 19 for 35 from the free throw line. So I was being a little condescending and a little tongue in cheek to start. But I do think there's some merit to the idea that like this is a noble win and this is an impressive win. And we can talk about like in the next two segments, like why that's maybe not quite the truth, because I didn't think this was an exceptionally sharp game for pretty much anyone on this team, other than probably Jalen on the offensive side of the floor. Like I think pretty much everyone else had their warts. Josh in some ways had a good game, but even he had some issues passing up wide open threes. And to your point, they're playing a just like terrible version of Dallas, who put together a gutty effort. D'Lo was awesome. Najee Marshall was awesome. Dallas started off really hot, finished 36% from three, 25 and 30 from the free throw line. Like at some point, math is just math, and that is an incredibly hard like shooting margin and shooting gap to make up, even when the Knicks are way better. So to me, like I don't have any really like negative long-term read about this game, other than the fact that like in a perfect world, and like if the Knicks are going to beat a team like the Thunder, you'd think their defense would have to be somewhat close to them. And that's hard to judge with that OG. But right now, they're not in that stratosphere. Chris.
The NFL season is rolling along, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for this weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
The Chicago Bulls win in dramatic fashion.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast.
I am stressed. I am hype. I am losing my mind. I can't believe what we just saw in this 122-121 win over the Bulls. To me, let's start off with the finish and work our way back. I thought that Billy Donovan called a heck of a play to finish out the game. I thought that the Chicago Bulls did a great job creating in this game. I thought that they truly found opportunities offensively for most of the game where they needed to. I thought there were some really good out of bounds plays, and that to finish the game off, finding Vooch wide open to get the dub. Great shot. And Vooch coming through in the clutch is something that you can't hang your hat on, but am I going to sit here and say that it's not something that I appreciated in a great way? No, I'm not. I thought that it was a phenomenal performance to finish the game by Nikola Vucevic, and I was very excited by it. Outside of that, though, there's a lot of problems that I do have with this game. And the biggest one being you got out rebounded 64-38. This is a game the Bulls should have lost 100%. Did a game they did? No. And sometimes that's going to happen in an NBA season. And where we're at right now, that's okay. It is not the end of the year. It's not the finish to a season. It is not. There's a lot of basketball left here to play. And so I'm okay saying, you know what? This is a game the Bulls shouldn't have won, but they found a way to do that. They found a way to do so. They found a way to put themselves in a position to stay in this game. There's a lot of question marks that I have on how the Bulls played tonight, but at a minimum, and the biggest thing about this is, to me, am I going to sit here and say that Billy Donovan called the best game? No, like you leave here with challenges in your pocket. You leave here with timeouts in your pocket. Like, what are we doing? But when it came down to it, you found a way to put yourself over the top. And you know what? That's something that early on in the season, I am okay with. Now the Bulls sit at 8-6 with a very favorable schedule moving forward. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for this team, finding ways to continue to attack this schedule. This is a game that I felt like the Bulls would win, but I did feel like it would be very close in this manner. And now when you talk about some of the things that you saw, I think, listen, if you're a Bulls fan right now and you see how Kobe White is playing, he was 5 for 17 in the game, 52% from the field, 55% from the three-point line. Most of his shots came from the free throw line, the three-point line. He got to the free throw line multiple times. And to me, I thought that there was a very skewed decision on how some of these foul calls were going to be made here in this game. And so you didn't see the Bulls get to the line nearly enough in this game. But I did think that there was a lot of opportunity for this Bulls team to take over and to win this game. I mean, at one point you led by 21. You led by 21. And so it does suck how this game went down in the fourth quarter. But to me, the biggest finish that you have to take from this is you've got a team that's finding a way to be clutch in some of these clutch moments. Not all of these clutch moments. We know there have been some really big misses from this Bulls team overall. But in some of these clutch moments, you're finding a team that is finding ways to make some of these tough shots. And that's the biggest thing that you can ask for. And I'll be honest with you, this was not a good day for the Bulls overall. And when you can come through and find ways to win these games, these are the ones where you say, okay, you won that one. You put that one in the bag. Now, how do you go out there and you beat the Pacers? How do you go out there and you beat Orlando again? How do you go out there and find ways to beat these playoff teams that you have beaten yet again? I know a lot of people are going to look at this game and say, oh, my God, I can't believe that the Bulls were ever down in this game. I can't believe that they lost this game. I not almost lost this game. I can't believe that they put themselves in a position where the Portland Trail Blazers could have beaten them. But if you're saying that, you haven't watched this Portland team. This Portland team is incredibly talented. This Portland team, Denny Avdia is another name in the, I mean, how many players are we saying now that are in that P. Will draft that is completely surpassed Patrick Williams? Like, to me, the fact that you were able to pull this game out on a, I keep saying this, I said this when I was doing the live call, on a Portland team that, I'm not going to lie to you, with every game they continue to play like this, they indict Chauncey Billups just a little bit more. Not crazy, but just a little bit more. To me, these are the games that you have to find ways to win. And the Bulls outplayed Portland in a ton of ways. I mean, the biggest thing that really set you behind was second chance points and offensive rebounds. The Bulls got out rebounded today 26-7 on the offensive glass. They got out rebounded in totality 64-38 in total. Like, there's a ton of mistakes that this Bulls team made, and yet you're talking about them coming away with the win. That is something massive. That is something big. And am I going to sit here and say that you can build your season off of that? No. But sometimes that's how you got to win games in this NBA. Let's not sit here and pretend like we haven't watched this Bulls team win games like this before. Let's not pretend that we haven't watched championship Bulls teams win games like this before. The Bulls found a way to pull this one out, and I'm not going to begrudge it. Does that mean that I feel great about this game? No. As you see, the second topic is a pat ring. And maybe this whole show is a pat ring. But right now, what I love, 11 for 19 from Nikola Vucevic. And what I will say is this, a big shot to finish the game, but I thought Vuce gave you a lot throughout the entire game. There's a lot of people that are going to say, well, Vuce couldn't out-rebound Donovan Clingan. Well, you know what? That goes into the rant. Give me a second. I'll get there. But overall, the fact that Nikola Vucevic had this bounce-back game, 11 for 19, 5 for 9 from the three-point line, shot 55% from the three. To me, that is a very different conversation that you've talked about with a guy like Nikola Vucevic over the last couple of games. I mean, throughout this losing streak, you have looked at him and said, he is a player that has helped you lose games. Me and Hayes have talked about it on this show. He's somebody that has helped you lose games more times than he has helped you win games. So the fact that you saw this bounce back effort versus a guy like Donovan Clingan, who balled out tonight, 7 for 13. He had 17 points. He had 21 rebounds. Again, give me a second to get to the rant. I'm glad that this is a solo episode. I truly am. Because there's a lot of anger in me today. And yet again, another game where the Bulls had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players go into double digits. Need to see a little bit more from some of them. Matas Buzelis, bad. What words y'all want to? What would you like me to use? Let me Google something real quick. Let me see how to say bad in different languages. Let's see. In Arabic, I believe it is say. In Chinese, it is buhao. In Danish, it is darling. In Dutch, schlecht. In Finnish, huno. In French, Malveus. Maybe Malveus. In German, schlecht. In Greek, I got nothing for that one. In Italian, cadavio. In Norwegian, darlig. What language you want me to put it in? Matas Buzelis is playing terrible right now. In Japanese, waru. What language do you want me to say it in? Everybody, if you speak a different language, comment in the comments right now. That's how Matas Buzelis is playing. Like, wake up. And I said this during the live call. You want to show off the bag work. You want to show off the bag work. But you don't want to go out there and show off the day-to-day fundamentals that made you a good player last year. Shout out to you for getting some bag work.
The NFL season is rolling along, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for this weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Alperen Şengün absolutely dominated his matchup with the reigning defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley. And the holiday season came a little early for Houston in their win against Cleveland. Rockets 114, Cavaliers 104. And we talked about it in our last episode, but this kind of like little 4-game stretch that the Rockets are on, right, is going to be a very telling, a very important stretch to see what this team is ultimately capable of. They came out with a win in this one, and the number one factor in this win for the Houston Rockets was none other than the man in the middle, Alperen Şengün, who played an incredible game against an incredibly good Cavaliers defensive front court of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, but in particular, Evan Mobley, who's the primary defensive assignment on Alperen Şengün all game long. Alp finished the night 28 points on 10 of 17 shooting, 8 of 10 at the free throw line, had 11 rebounds, 7 assists, had a steal, had a block. He becomes the first Rocket or the first player, I guess, since Jokic and Giannis to record 3 straight games of 25 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, and 5 plus assists. The first Rocket to do that in history in 3 straight games. Really surprised that Hakeem never managed to put those numbers together in 3 straight games. And the only other players to do that are Jokic and Giannis, surprisingly. So some elite company there for Alperen Şengün. And when I tell you, looking at this Cavs team, they had absolutely zero answer for Alp throughout this game. And it can be boiled down to a couple different things, but ultimately, you know, Alp does such a fantastic job in matchups like this against bigs, specifically like Evan Mobley, right? We're seeing this new kind of modern NBA big, right? These lengthy, you know, 6'11", 7 foot, 7'1" bigs that are, you know, long and great shot blockers, great, like, you know, help defenders or weak side shot blockers. And they're generally, you know, good one-on-one defenders as well, or decent one-on-one defenders. They're switchable. They can go out on the perimeter. And I'm telling you, right, there's a bunch of them, right? There's Mobley, there's Wemby, there's Chet. You can roll down the list and find a bunch of these guys in today's NBA. And the unique thing about Alperen Şengün and his game is these guys don't have the physicality, the muscle mass, the weight really to just deal with Alp down low. And that's where he got a lot of his damage done in this game, is post-ups on Evan Mobley, where Mobley had zero answer for him, couldn't keep him out of the paint, and Alp just slowly bumping and bruising and banging to get to his spot on the floor. But it's also unfair to Alp to say that it was just, he was just posting up Evan Mobley, that's all he was doing. No, because on the final play of the game, or one of the final plays of the game, as the Cavaliers were trying to mount their late comeback, Alp's final official bucket of the game, not counting the free throws that he was knocking on the way down, but his final actual bucket of the game with just under a minute to go. Cavaliers had cut it to a 2-possession game. It was 107-101 off of a DeAndre Hunter 3. And, you know, Rockets weren't completely out of the woods yet because they had that really impressive third quarter collapse. And we'll talk about the third quarter collapse here in just a moment. But Alperen Şengün just completely walked down Evan Mobley, right? How many bigs in the NBA? How many centers in the NBA? I have to say centers now because y'all were calling me out about, you know, Giannis is better than Şengün. Okay, Giannis is a big, fine. Just how many centers in the NBA can run, you know, 1-4 flat and just ISO from 35 feet away from the half court line, and then drive the ball all the way in and score in isolation. How many guys can make that move in the NBA? We saw now in a very short amount of time, we saw Alperen Şengün beat a full court press from Giannis and then drive it in and score against the Bucks. And we just saw him do the exact same thing, or a similar thing against the Cavaliers, with Evan Mobley pressed up on him all the way at the half court line, blows straight past him, fakes, gets him way up in the air, and then finishes at the rim like it's, just another Wednesday night for Alperen Şengün. It really is impressive watching him go to work against these guys, and he is truly playing at a superstar level right now. And here's the important takeaway from this game. Not only did the Rockets win, did they look really good against an upper echelon opponent. Yes, the Cavs are missing Darius Garland and Max Strus and Sam Merrill and some other pieces. Guess what? The Rockets are also missing their pieces, right? They're missing Fred VanVleet. They're missing Tari Eason. They're missing Dorian Finney-Smith. So both of these teams not at 100%. Rockets got the absolute better of the Cavaliers in this game. They held them to a season low 19 points in the first quarter. The Rockets defense was really solid for good stretches of this game, and then it kind of fell apart as the game wore on. But I hope that we can officially dead this conversation. Alperen Şengün needs to be so far removed from any of the Evan Mobley discussion. Alperen Şengün is a far and away better player than Evan Mobley, and has been for a minute. And Mobley won DPOY, and I'll give him credit for that. And Mobley's done a good job elevating his game since getting into the NBA. But Alperen Şengün is in a different stratosphere than Evan Mobley. He's arguably, I'm not going to say the better defender, but a more impactful defender at times. I think there's a lot of narrative in that DPOY award. And I also think we haven't really seen Evan Mobley thrive by himself. He plays next to Jarrett Allen, another really great defensive big. Mobley doesn't anchor this Cavs defense all by himself. Again, there are the two best players from the 2021 draft class are Cade Cunningham and Alperen Şengün, and then a healthy gap, a margin between those two guys, and then it's everybody else. Cade is the only guy whose name should be mentioned in the same breath as Alperen Şengün from that 2021 draft class. And you're seeing it on display on a night in, night out basis, where on a team led by Kevin frickin' Durant, you've got Alperen Şengün out here closing out games, forcing overtimes, winning games, drawing up ISO plays at the end of regulation because he's just that damn good.